In southern Phoenix Nation has celebrated the coronation of their new monarch in the distant past while also accepting gifts from its northern counterpart. The bountiful gifts from the populace make the new emperor very happy, but it soon becomes clear that this was all a trap as the donors of the gifts are actually assassins in disguise. The royal guards quickly block the impostor's immediate attempt to kill the monarch, who promptly kills one of the adversaries. The second assassin notices this and tries to flee, but a huge beast grabs hold of her and slams her against the walls before shredding her to pieces. Commander Guan begs the king to act quickly by holding a tournament to choose a general to command their army because they must attack the other country before it's too late. After learning that their neighbor has just declared war, the commander then ascends to the top of the castle and dispatches numerous messenger eagles to the adjacent cities, in an effort to gather the most formidable warriors, leaving the king with little alternative but to consent. The guards are providing the only source of water to the inhabitants in a nearby town where resources are scarce, but there is obviously not enough for everyone to drink, as the unfortunate ones are sent home empty-handed. The general public is unaware that a man named Dong has chosen to sneak inside from the ceiling, and covertly descends towards the water fountain to steal water. This enables him to take the water without being restrained, but the guards immediately catch on and start attacking the robber from all sides. Fortunately, the man is able to escape from the ceiling, but the security personnel are not about to give up so simply. They continue pursuing the thief from behind and unintentionally smash the scaffoldings while a youngster is still within. Unexpectedly, a neighboring employee named Chu Hun is able to reach the girl just in time and save her from the crumbling structure. This ultimately enables the thief to believe he has escaped and hide behind a nearby wall, only to be knocked unconscious by the guard's captain as a result. The messenger eagle soon arrives at this remote settlement, and the chief of the community hastily snatches the letter from the bird before informing the populace of the news. It soon becomes clear that Commander Guan wants every town to send 3 of its best fighters to compete in his tournament, so they may choose who is the most deserving of becoming the next great general. When Dong hears this, he jumps at the chance to participate in the tournament because he is determined to show the others that he is more than just a small-time robber. The villagers didn't anticipate Chu Han and the guard captain to offer their services as well. However, the chief wished them luck on their voyage. Dong decides to pay homage to his mother's grave before the group eventually departs for the nation's capital, revealing that he has been an orphan since he was a young child, in the hopes that it will once again save Chu Han's life. The chief also gives him the broken spear that the guy carried 10 years ago when he managed to escape from a war. Soon after, the group sets out towards the deserts in an effort to reach their nation's capital, before the gang can escape the deserted area. Though, they discover that something is amiss when a massive stinger gets hold of one of their team members and drags him away into the dunes. In a flash, it becomes clear that a massive scorpion has arrived to take down the groups. Chu Han uses his spear to fend off the scorpion strikes, while simultaneously rescuing Dong as they attempt to predict the next onslaught. The group are able to regain their balance as a second monster emerges and starts attacking them as well. Fortunately, Chu Han is able to strike back right away, knocking the scorpion to the ground and eventually forcing it to flee, but the second foe keeps advancing on the guy and aims to kill him. Surprisingly, Chu Han is able to block the attack, eventually causing the monsters to flee, but the man immediately realizes that they are in serious trouble because their 3-person squad is now down to just 2 members. Even worse, the group is compelled to sleep on top of the stony ground. When the sun gradually sets and the darkness descends upon the vast desert, Dong decides to get to know his teammate better as they are relaxing in front of the campfire, and discovers that Chu Han is actually on a covert mission to avenge his family. It soon becomes clear that 10 years prior, during the fight he fought against the northern invaders, Chu Han's brother managed to kill the opposing army's general by using his spear, but that the act also caused the spear to break. However, the battle was ultimately lost by the people, given that the reinforcements they were promised by Commander Guan never arrived. As a result, the enemy's arrows completely devastated the southern army, but Chu Han's brother was able to save the boy at the last second, and he gave his life on the battlefield among the other troops. As a result of Guan's betrayal, Chu Han determines that he must avenge his brother's death by killing the commander, and this tournament provides him with the ideal venue for doing so. Commander Guan ultimately confesses to his enigmatic companion that he is actually a spy working for the Northern Kingdom, but the populace is unaware that he is concealing this information from everyone in this nation. It rapidly becomes clear that the competition he created is nothing more than a trap to get rid of all the top fighters in this empire, opening the door for the Northerners to conquer the nation soon. The following morning, as they advance on the nation's capital, the travelers spot a woman fleeing from a group of troops while brandishing a massive sword. It turns out that the girl stole a sacred relic from the People's Clan, but Chu Han advises his teammate to overlook the matter because they have a far more crucial duty to fulfill when Dong tries to settle this conflict. But before the two can leave this place, they quickly realize that something is awry as a massive sandstorm is rapidly approaching them. People are forced to flee for their lives as the oncoming storm starts engulfing everything in its path. but they eventually succeed in hiding behind the rocks to avoid being carried away by this catastrophe. The commander of the soldiers, however, did not arrive in time as he was still being carried away by the strong winds. Chu-hun manages to grab onto the two guys just in time, and Dong notices this and decides to aid the stranger right away. But the storm proves to be far too powerful and eventually blasts the people away like flying ragdolls. Fortunately, when the storm gradually passes over the desert, the people are able to emerge from the sands largely unscathed, and they are shocked to discover that the other soldiers have also survived the disaster. When the strangers offer the main character one of their horses in exchange for their assistance before hurriedly fleeing in the direction of the city, it is shortly discovered that they were also traveling to the tournament. Dong ultimately makes it to the capital, navigating through market streets crowded with Northern Empire slaves, before arriving in front of the meeting spot where a large number of tournament competitors are waiting inside. The girl with the large sword intended to enter the tournament like the others, but instead was swiftly surrounded by the same soldiers who had been pursuing her in the desert, which is what the crowd hadn't anticipated. The girl notices this and tries to flee, just like before, while the soldiers approach her fiercely from all sides. However, the woman manages to deflect the blows while simultaneously quickly taking down the adversaries. Fortunately, before the battle escalates further, everyone falls to their knees at the same time as a large contingent of soldiers enters the structure. Commander Guan swiftly appears at the scene with his enormous beast, announcing to the crowd that the competition will begin the next day. However, until the competition is over, competitors are not permitted to leave since anyone caught trying to flee will be put to death right away. After realizing how severe the situation is, the individuals determine that they must locate a new colleague by tomorrow or risk being eliminated and possibly executed as well. Fortunately, they shortly cross paths with the little girl from earlier, who introduces herself as Jing and offers to join their team for the next competition. The only option left to them is to accept her offer because they would otherwise be unable to participate in the competition. The following morning, as the competition is about to start and is being followed by everyone in the city, all of the competitors have gathered inside the enormous stadium. The commander ultimately makes an appearance in front of the competitors and explains that while there are no rules prohibiting people from killing their teammates, the first 3 teams to cross the enormous stage will advance to the next round. The tournament is made even more difficult to complete by the fact that the competitors must compete against one another while being tied to their own teammates. The death race officially begins, and the competitors immediately jump towards the narrow bridges and attempt desperately to knock off the opposing teams. Only a few teams managed to get it to the center, while several competitors lost their footing and fell inside the enormous cliff. The group decides to take a chance and rushes over to the other side, killing the unfortunate ones who fell into the ditches and trying to shove their rivals off the edge. The situation worsens when the hosts start to alter the entire stadium while forcing the playing surface to spin beneath the competitors' feet. The spectators are horrified to witness the release of countless enormous spheres in their direction. The result is that people scramble to avoid the enormous balls as they start crushing them and horrifyingly killing the victims. Fortunately, the remaining survivors are able to predict the trajectory of the enormous spheres, and they manage to avoid being murdered by dodging the objects by using their special skills. As a result, the sole female team is ultimately able to see across and take first place, while Dong and his friends continue to struggle for survival. The crowd, however, quickly makes it to the boundaries and eventually jumps off the stadium while claiming second place. Only 2 teams are left to compete for the final spot, and one of the contestants accidentally locks his leg inside the metal chains as a result. When their commander notices this, he is compelled to amputate his teammate's leg before grabbing hold of the hurt person and sprinting towards the finish line. This finally enables the competitors to survive as well, but at the expense of losing one of their team members in the process. The defeated contestants are escorted back into the arena as the commander's assistant starts shaming everyone for losing the first competition and making them scream in pain. Fortunately, the remaining competitors are permitted to move on to the next competition, and the commander awards the certificates to the winners while praising them for enduring such a challenging test. When Dong tries to stop his friend from killing them all, Chu-hun sees this and resolves to attack the commander right immediately to get revenge on his family. But Dong just succeeds in earning the strongest handshake in the entire globe. Jing sees that something is awry and tries to reassure her friends, only to discover that the commander has already arrived and has already seen the broken spear. Unexpectedly, Commander Guan chose to congratulate Chu-hun on winning the tournament rather than mentioning the weapon from the family he killed. Chu-hun is forced to accept the prize reluctantly while allowing the commander to escape from his grip after realizing that if he exacts revenge now, his buddies will perish. When the individuals eventually return to their home, Chu-hun is enraged at his teammates for delaying his retaliation and makes the decision to go alone and assassinate the commander. Dong informs Chu-hun that there is a better way to pursue justice and that he must win the competition to become the great general in order to alert the monarch of the commander's deceit. Dong refuses to watch the guy die needlessly. The following morning, the participants start traveling to the second competition. They have to grab the egg from a huge monster that is continually producing earthquakes inside the area. as it tries to remove the metal device that the humans installed on its head. The competitors have already entered the tunnels from the other openings as they search for the giant monster's nest, and soon the people are heading inside the vast cave. Chu-hun is unintentionally poisoned by a weird flower, which makes the guy lose his capacity to fight as he slowly starts to die from the poison. But before the people can find the enormous beast, fortunately, Chu-hun informs his friends that the toxic flower's cure is an orange moss, and they swiftly decide to look for the drug for their teammate. The girls are rapidly transformed into helpless victims, after being seized by the enormous tentacles as one of the teams makes it towards a field of thick grass. The people immediately realize that something is amiss. When a second team arrives at the area and starts battling the gigantic plants, they eventually manage to flee by a hidden entrance, where they discover the monster's egg is right in front of them. The people are able to grab the item right away, but they soon realize that the beast has returned for its egg, forcing them to flee fearfully for their lives until they return to the carnivorous plants. However, as the Dong team approaches the area to win the competition prize, the tentacles immediately assault the humans once more, as the enormous creature towers over everyone and pushes forward in rage. The populace is unaware that it has finally made an appearance to retrieve its kids. The girl manages to seize the tournament prize and starts racing madly the other direction, while the man drops the egg as he is swiftly knocked over the massive mountain. The monster, nevertheless, is not ready to give up so simply, as it rapidly locates the girl and forces her to cling to the walls. Fortunately, Dong is able to save her and steal the egg from his comrade while he tries to entice the enormous serpent away from his friend. This makes the monster even more enraged because it keeps failing to grab the man who is hopping across the rock surfaces. The crew successfully draws the enemy into the little caverns while attempting to slow down the enormous serpent by climbing onto the ceiling and getting stuck in the process. Unexpectedly, Dong recognizes the orange moss on the creature's head as the remedy for their companion, and the girl grabs hold of the medication right away before jumping off the creature and scurrying away from the scene. The enormous serpent, who had been chasing the people through the field violently, eventually succeeds in breaking free, but as it does so, it again becomes trapped behind the stones. When they eventually provide the medication to their friend, which starts mending him right away and pulls him back from the verge of death, it enables the people to flee promptly. Unexpectedly, Dong chooses to return to the enormous monster rather than immediately leave this area because he wants to free it from captivity. The man hurriedly jumps onto the serpent's head and assures it that he means no harm while desperately attempting to remove the helmet. However, the metal plate won't budge from the monster's skull. Fortunately, Jing returns to assist her teammate as well, as she climbs onto the rope and starts tugging down simultaneously. This swiftly enables the snake to escape the mechanical device and yell in agony. It then turns to face the tiny humans again and inspects the individuals who abducted its offspring. When Dong notices this, he hastily removes the egg in front of the enormous beast and apologizes for disrupting its nest. However, the man begs the monster to let them temporarily utilize the egg for the competition, since he guarantees to bring it back without causing any harm. Surprisingly, the serpent ultimately accepts Dong's proposal since it wants to give back to humans for saving it by letting them leave this place in peace. However, the party is unaware that they are being secretly watched by an unknown creature from the shadows. The other team's leader, who managed to survive, is punished for losing the tournament like the others from before, but the group is able to return to the capital. The commander informs the crowd that they must battle against their own teammates in the tournament's final round, even though there are no longer any other competitors to face off against, because only one person can win the title of the Great General. People become depressed as a result since they can't bear to think about murdering their own buddies. Fortunately, just before the crew loses all hope, the enigmatic figure dressed in blue materializes in front of them and reveals that she is actually a close friend of Dong's father. The woman leads the group to a mysterious forest and makes a promise to reveal the truth about what's really happening. As they approach a cloud of fog, which teleports them into a pocket dimension, all the stones in the area start to levitate upwards, and the group's past memories are displayed before their eyes. It rapidly becomes apparent that Dong is the only surviving member of the preceding generation. The main character must reclaim his rightful throne as the Northern Monarch, who was usurped by the traitors in order to stop more violence between the two countries. They are rapidly transferred back into the wilderness before the individuals can digest this information, and Chu-hun decides to leave his teammate in a fit of rage, leaving the central figure dumbfounded. When Jing notices this, she attempts to stop the man from leaving their team, but Chu-hun swiftly pushes her away and advises the girl to forget about their friendship because it was built entirely on falsehoods. The woman becomes depressed as a result and tearfully flees from the man, unwilling to acknowledge that she is now the main character's enemy. Before the girl can go back to the city, she notices that a large number of soldiers are encircling her from all sides. The commander has come to arrest her for fleeing the competition and has ordered all of his troops to launch an instant attack. This leads Jing to desperately fight herself in an effort to survive the savage strikes, but she is quickly overcome by the foes, who also manage to knock her weapon away before tackling her to the ground. When the people notice this, they start repeatedly beating the woman on the ground. Fortunately, Chu Han arrives just in time and rushes to help the girl by dislodging the enemy soldiers. Commander Guan, however, promptly stabs the woman in the leg, forcing Jing to scream in agony before the guy can save his companion. When Chu Han realizes that his comrade is about to be slain, he is forced to drop his weapon and surrender and allow the soldiers to drag him to the ground as well. The opponent pulls out his sword and stabs the girl directly through the heart, badly hurting her in the process. He doesn't aware that the commander has no intention of leaving the woman alive. The man eventually realizes that his desire for vengeance has cost him everything as Chu Han screams in agony as he is dragged away by the troops. Dong arrives at the scene a little later and immediately sees his dying friend, rushing over to try to save the woman's life. The woman pleads with Dong to save Chu Han with her last breath before passing away in his arms, and leading the man to break down in tears as Dong recognizes that it is already too late. Dong eventually leaves the area and returns to the capital, showing that despite losing one of his closest friends, he has no intention of giving up. Dong quickly locates one of the earlier competitors and informs him about the commander's deceit, while pleading with the guy to spread the news about their enemy's fabrications, so they may rally the remaining citizens to protect the city from the northern spies. While the commander requests that the man be put to death immediately, Chu Han is being taken to the southern king to be punished for quitting the tournament. Fortunately, Dong arrives at the scene as well before Chu Han is murdered by the executioner, and he begs the king to permit him to battle the prisoner to the death, so that he can legitimately become the great general while also killing the criminal at the same time. The two men are sent inside the final stadium, where countless knives start flying across the stages, and the king unexpectedly chooses to allow the competition to continue. The two combatants try to fight their way across the stadium, but instead of going head to head to the death, they start shielding one another from the flying weaponry. The commander notices this and instructs his minions to launch an instant attack, as a large number of enemy soldiers rush the guards from within the crowd, wreaking full mayhem in the process. Fortunately, the clan leaders who lost the tournament have all come back to defend their city, and they start to shift the tide of the conflict by swiftly eliminating the opposing soldiers. Along with Commander Guan, the king has also made the decision to flee as they manage to win the battle and enter the palace, only to discover that all of the doors have been sealed from the outside. This causes the monarch to discover that his most trusted advisor has betrayed him, and he hastily seals the people inside the structure in preparation for overthrowing the southern king. As they fight their way towards the palace to save the king, Chu Han notices this and rushes at the enemy soldiers with his comrade. The commander's enormous beast, however, rapidly disperses the combatants and begins howling violently and attacking the humans with its fangs. Fortunately, Chu Han is able to strike back right away, stabbing the monster while it is still standing. This allows the people to deal a fatal blow while knocking the massive foe to the ground, thereby killing the monster, as a secret device starts to pour massive amounts of flammable liquid onto the entire stadium. The commander quickly starts to flee to higher ground with the intention of setting fire to everyone within. As the flames are started from the top of the structure, Dong notices this and sprints towards the commander as soon as he realizes the man is attempting to flee using a large glider. Nevertheless, Dong eventually succeeds in ascending to the rooftop and leaping onto the commander's glider as he starts poking holes in the wings, sending the entire contraption plummeting to the ground. The king is rapidly dying from the intense heat of the flames as Chu Han manages to make it to the palace entrance and attempts desperately to force open the gates to the inside. Fortunately, the populace forces open the doors in time to save the king from the raging fire and narrowly avoid the catastrophic explosion in the process. Before the crowd gets a chance to recover its breath, Chu Han realizes that his companion has successfully sabotaged the enemy's glider, leading the commander to crash land in the middle of the stage. This prompts the man to charge the enemy in a wrath so intense that he kicks the traitor across the battlefield like a flying rag doll. He then grabs the adversary and stabs the leader in the neck to exact final retribution for the murders of his buddies. The king may subsequently laud the populace for saving the city, while appointing Chu Han as the army's new general so that the guy may carry on defending the realm. Furthermore, Chu Han ultimately made the decision to build Jing an honorable memorial so that she would also be recognized as a hero for the people. The populace decides to show homage to Jing by going to the tomb of their slain comrade, and Dong vows to retake the throne of the northern nation in order to end all further fighting. But before Dong can return to his house, he makes the decision to travel to the monster's lair in order to return the huge serpent's progeny and gain a potent ally for his future adventures. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.